tough losses last
Right.
week, two very different games. Came back against Bowling Green and had a good rebounding effort, but not a great shooting effort.
Right.
Then Toledo on Saturday, get the shooting going, but kind of hit a buzzsaw with a really hot shooting team. Just recap last week for us.
Well, I think you hit it on the head. You know, the Bowling Green game, kudos to Mike and his group. But, you know, we didn't make any shots. Obviously, we were able to rebound the ball in the offensive end. I think we had 20 offensive rebounds, and we had 17 more shots. Now, part of that can be attributed to the fact that we had, you know, so many misses. But it's hard to win when you go on the road and you shoot, I think, 36% or somewhere like that as a team. But, you know, I thought we certainly hung in there, and we were right there in many aspects of the game and in striking distance, but could never you know, really get on a run offensively. I want to say it was 41-41 at one point, and we missed probably 3 attempts around the rim there in the second half. And then, of course, they go on a run, and then, you know, we're not able to chase them down. In the Toledo game, I felt like they didn't hit the rim in the first half. They shot the ball extremely well. You know, in any time, and, you know, we went after them and pressed and everything, and they were able to make the plays and quite frankly took some of the shots you want teams to take, but they made them, and they could make them. It was, you know, it's funny because you look at that game and what they did to us by shooting the ball so well in the first half is probably exactly what Ball State did to them earlier in the week when they were at Ball State, so they were able to turn the tables you know, in that capacity against us. And so the one thing I will say is that, you know, I thought our guys, you know, they hung in there. And I mean, we were down, but they continued to compete. And I want to say we cut it to 8 there in the second half and kept fighting and working, which is what you have to do. They came out in the second half, and they were still hot. And finally, they started to miss some shots. And then at the end of the day, you know, one of the things that separated them was certainly Booth. He had an answer for everything that you did, and really he can settle their team down because he can just play in so many places on the court from an offensive perspective. And, you know, if you were at the game, and I think, you know, our fans that were there, you saw a terrific basketball player. I mean, his offensive efficiency and his offensive abilities are really something, and he's continued to get better. He's changed his body, and we just could not match up with him on Saturday. He just posed a problem for us throughout the game.
We've talked about him a few times last week, but someone who really kind of emerged and gave you some nice minutes was Caleb Wright. Got a start on Saturday. Talk about his production last week and his progress through the season.
Well, you know, I think Caleb is playing with a sense of purpose, understanding who he is and what he needs to do in order to be successful, how he can help the team and how he can contribute. And he's been able to do that. He's been able to get on the offensive boards. He's been able to be physical. He's obviously not the tallest guy, nor is he the longest, but you can still have presence on the court. And he's continued to work. And so, you know, I think what happens is you start seeing the value in that, and he's reaping the benefits of keeping his nose down and just going about his business, and really has provided us with a nice lift. Particularly last week in the past couple of games, but you sort of saw it coming and it was building as he was being very productive with the time that he was getting. And then, of course, like you said, he was able to get the start and was very productive for us there in that game. And, you know, as I tell Kev, keep defending, keep guarding, keep rebounding, keep doing the little things. Don't worry about it, you know, from an offensive standpoint because, you know, he's offensive rebounding, getting stick backs. But, you know, just concentrate on a few things. And obviously when your opportunity comes offensively, then, you know, do what you need to do. Got to get him to be more consistent at the free throw line, and that's just getting some extra work in.
You know, your two senior guards, Eric Washington and Giovanni McKnight, have had a pretty nice start statistically in MAC play. Just talk about their performances.
Well, they have. I think they've sort of traded places. I think Eric had 20-something one game and G had 20-something the other game. You know, particularly Giovanni in Toledo, his effort was terrific. I mean, he was everywhere. Rebounding, the right mentality, really being locked in and just leaving it out on the court. And, you know, as you start going down this road here, this is your last tour through the league. That's the way you want to go out. And then and then Eric, of course. Eric did a good job. You know, he had one turnover, so starting to get the turnovers down. He's shooting a terrific clip from 3-point range on the year now. I think he's up to 40%. And of course, he makes basically about 85% of his free throws. And so, you know, those two obviously lead us from an offensive perspective and bring, you know, a sense of direction to us. We just got to be more consistent outside of those two and get some people to step up. One of the people, I thought Dion Wade brought terrific energy for us against Toledo, and just playing so hard, using his length, and that's something that's of great value and should be rewarded. And so I just think it's a matter of everyone, you know, continuing to work. You know, we're 2 games in. Certainly we are 0-2, but, you know, if you're 1-1, do I feel better? Does the team feel better? Absolutely you do, but, you know, the one thing you don't do is you don't give in. It's funny, I was watching TV and, you know, you're just looking at the amount of teams in conference play and different conferences that start 0-3, 0-4, 0-2. And it all just a lot of times depends on how you start the league, where you start, where your games, who you're playing. And so, you know, as I've emphasized to this team, you know, just keep working. I thought today we had a terrific day in practice. I thought the energy was really good and guys were really getting after it. And that's, you know, and that's what you look for. And I thought our spirit and who we were for the last game against Toledo was in the right place. We ran into a team that was just really good offensively. So if you can continue to do that, continue to build on it, then, yeah, the ball's going to bounce your way. And that's going to be for sure. And then as it does, you never know what happens. Heck, maybe you get on a roll. And now you're sitting there and you look back and you say, well, you know, I remember when this was going on. And then you start realizing the lessons that were learned during that time. Lessons for the players, lessons for the coaches. So it doesn't change. But still really, really confident in this group. As they say, we just got to get off the snide, get it going, get a little bit of confidence, and see what happens.
Speaking about getting going, 2 road games this week. Kent State on Tuesday, and then on to Ball State on Saturday. Preview the week ahead for us.
Well, it doesn't get any easier. 4-6, your first 4-6 are on the road. Kent State has obviously played well. Opened up the year with a road win, and then of course they lost to Buffalo here this past weekend, or Friday, I should say. So, you know, you look at this Kent State team, a little bit different than last year where they had the 4 guards that just shot the ball. And I mean, they really could. Now they sort of reverse it, and they've got all the size inside. They pound you. They offensive rebound the ball. They play with great toughness, great physicality. So, I mean, we've got our hands full, and particularly with their size. And so, you know, I don't know if anyone's gotten them off the boards this year yet, really. But we certainly have to try to maintain the boards and bring a level playing field as much as possible, and really take on their physicality, which is going to be a lot for us. You take a look at Ball State, who, as I mentioned earlier, opened up. They beat Toledo. They shoot the ball extremely well, of course, at home. And then, of course, they suffered a loss here also. But, you know, they're a much improved team. They're capable of getting it going, shooting the basketball. They've got some kids that have really stepped up, some kids that were sitting out last year, and they've added, of course, in recruitment. And so they're much improved. I haven't had an opportunity to really, really study them, you know, and got a former Miami guy who's a terrific guy, and Grunk. You know, it's funny, you know, Grunk's such a good guy. We cheer for Grunk, but now we got to play against him. So this is the one time we don't. But they've done a really good job in getting that going and continuing to build it. And Witt, you know, I think what he's starting to see is, you know, the fruits of his labor. But, you know, it's like last year, and I'm sure he's thinking this, you know, they opened up with a win in the season, and then they go the rest of the conference play without another win. That won't happen this year. But I think it always reminds you to be, you know, be in the moment of what's going on. And it's a lesson for our group. You know, just because you open up and you win, or you open up with 2 losses, doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. But you've got to continue to get better, continue to improve, and more importantly, you've got to continue to get better in practice on a daily basis.
Thanks, Coach, and good luck this week.
No problem. Thanks.